Everybody to our annual plan adoption meeting. On Tuesday we heard from ARMC and dealt with RECs 1 through to 6. We also adopted the Climate Change Resilience Fund policy. Then we started discussion on the draft plan, at which point we started going through the proposed amendments and received staff advice. First up today, we have grouped amendments into the following batches: noting provisions for report requests, rec and sport and property, parks, community, and lastly, transport. A handful of amendments which the mover and seconder need to confirm. And once we have these confirmed, we'll be then holding one debate for all the amendments on the annual plan, all the amendments and the annual plan adoption. I will now hand over to Mary to give us a guide on where we are with remaining amendments.
Great. Well, thank you very much. Before I kick off, I do just want to acknowledge Sam and Kathy for their tremendous work over the last day and the batch ready to be sent out today. So good work. And also
work,
to our finance team. And finance team for checking the rate. So as Samir said, we will have received today, and you've got hard copies on your desk of the amendments that were put forward and discussed yesterday. So as Mayor said, there's the batch through to page 15 that are the information requests. From there, we've got on to the things that actually do impact on service delivery activities or budgets, and we will go through those and just clarify that everyone's clear about that. And then do want to just spend a bit of time traversing the ones at the end, which were talked about on Tuesday. We just needed to clarify the rules and seconder as we've done that. I want to make sure everybody's clear on them before we start to debate your voting. So if we do just actually look at those now, if we look at the pages, so starting on page 4, these are all the amendments from 4 to 15, where councillors and have a seconder, which is where the listing and it doesn't impact that activity. So some advice and information. So if we just look at these were discussed on Tuesday, so we should be able to move through them quite quickly. This one was a report on this backpack. Move and seconder were happy with that. It was discussed, so everyone understands what that one is. Please, I'll try and move quite quickly, so if you're not, please slow me down. Transport logistics, road, cycleways. It's up there. It was confirmed by and seconded, discussed on Tuesday. It's on page. We're over on page 5, plant species management plan.
Can we just find out when that biodiversity report?
I think we need a couple of months to review it.
Okay.
Comprehensive report.
Yeah, I actually thought it was due to 4 now. So it'd be good to find out when that one's coming through. Thank you.
We'll advise you in the next week or so, Councillor Donovan.
Thank you. Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you. Great.
Yeah, just a report.
Okay, so people clear about that when we then move on to democracy services transparency tool. This was adjusted slightly. The move and seconder are happy with that. It was clear what that is. In September with options. To it was seconder. It was discussed on Tuesday. On page 6, page 17, transport Green Turning Arrow Workshop, again discussed on Tuesday. Moved and seconder, happy with that resolution. What that is. Read it. Okay, A19, so we're on page 6 now. A19 property Leslie Street. The mover and seconder are happy with that. It was discussed on Tuesday or clarified. A20 planning has since city vacant.
Yeah, happy.
Happy with that, moved and seconder happy with that. Great, and discussed on Tuesday. Do I need to read this out?
Yeah, share it and it's the minutes as well, so yeah.
Two parts, that was 367 Pyramid Street. The move and seconder are happy with that. And it was discussed on Tuesday. So clear. A25 digital AI policy, move and seconder were happy with this. It was discussed and Tuesday about it. So it should be okay. So next page, page 8, A26, capitalisation of staff time. Again, the move and seconder were happy with this on Tuesday, and it was had some information discussed on Tuesday.
Can I just ask a question about that? I thought this came to us in a, haven't we looked at some of this in the capitalisation? We've already had some memo or some advice on it?
Yes, we have had some advice on that, and I think that was discussed again on Tuesday. And that's why we are reviewing. I think the advice was we continue to review that we are doing the capitalisation, so we will be able to report back. So there was a workshop on it, advice and a memo.
And we were already doing it.
It's just, that's why just that the
Gotcha.
position is noting it.
Thank you.
A27, income streams. Seconder were happy with this, so we will be arranging a workshop around streams.
And I've got another question on that one. We had another session recently where we were looking at all of the levers that we have to pull to increase income and reduce our costs. Was that also one of those things that came to us in that workshop?
Yeah, yes, it was, but this is actually, I think this was particularly looking at some of the land and building stuff, which wasn't actually focused on in that workshop, and also the potential changes in government legislation. Change. So
Thank you.
Yeah, and encompassing commercial partnerships and sponsorships for different things that may be feasible.
I think the frustration is that sometimes when you look at these things ad hocly, some around the table kind of say no and yes, so it's be really good to have a workshop to work out how we can go forward. Don't want to waste, going back to A26, staff time on something that's going to be thrown out later on by some, so that's clarifying.
A28, Mary?
Great, A28, bus exchange. It's an issue about public safety. And bus exchange, move and seconder are happy with this, and I think it was discussed on Tuesday.
Just a question on this, because it's been raised several times with us over a couple of years now. Is it possibly a time frame for when this report could come back?
Same as we have agreed to do with Councillor Donovan, let you know next week what the time frame of it.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Back down to the school.
Thank you.
A29 Island Road pedestrian crossing, again, this was discussed on Tuesday and we got staff advice on Tuesday. Seconder happy with this resolution as it stands and agreed on Tuesday to this wording. So everyone clear what this one, the implications of this one are?
Sorry, just
A,
sorry, the question that was raised a couple of days ago was when do we get government oversight of the minor road safety program and how we prioritise the projects within it?
So we will again come back with you around a timing, but we will be looking back. So we'll do that next week. So all these ones where there's a thing that staff will be reporting back, we will try and come back next month, you know, because we're at the end of this month, to say we'll enter them into that log of that you've got on your Bigton can about we will. So we'll enter these ones and I'll let you know.
We had some prioritised in that budget last in your thing.
So we'll definitely come back with a timeline for those. If they're passed, we'll come back with a timeline. No. A32, that's the Middleton Museum. This was discussed at Tuesday. And it's then the move and secretary are happy with this, or were signalled that they were happy on Tuesday. Then the next one again, for Middleton Museum, moving secretary again happy with this wording and was discussed on Tuesday.
Can I just double clarify the strengthening, would that be the Strengthening Communities Fund for 25, 26?
Yes, I think we discussed about actually accepting a late application with people.
Would that be for the board fund or Metro? I mean, they choose obviously, but
The board fund's about $7.50, so it'd be Metro.
I'm just wondering because it's a Metro, would it be directed by staff to go to Banks Peninsula, or would it be Metro? Choose, but
Probably Metro because it's a tourist thing as well.
that's what I'm hoping the answer is, but
Yeah. So we'll assume at this stage it's Metro because it's a city concept, even though it's located in Banks Peninsula.
This is for the museum.
Strengthening Community.
That one, because we've got a similar example where funding for an administrator to get grants was funded through the community pool. So it does create a bit of an inconsistent approach. I support it that.
Do you know how big the Strengthening Communities Fund is for Banks Peninsula? Yours is about 5 times as big.
We will clarify which channel it's going on next week. We'll clarify the timing. I think there's probably going to be a nuance between your one and this one.
Just be good to get some clarity on that sort of inconsistent. Thank you.
A34, that is again, the movement secretary happy with this. It was discussed on Tuesday. And so I think it's debate on that.
Yeah.
34. Engagement.
Sweet. Yeah, that's good.
77, secretary will conclude this on Tuesday. It was discussed on Tuesday. And so we probably do have enough of you, or you have enough information to debate that today. Page 10, still the bottom of it, A49, the guarantee for internet. It was move and secretary happy with this. We got staff advice about this, so it's the decision can be made today. Made today. A41, steadfast reserve garage. Again, move and seconder. We're happy with this resolution discussed on Tuesday. So you to be able to debate and decide on that today.
That's good. Thank you.
A42, Akaroa Information Centre, seconder, we're happy with this, was discussed on Tuesday, so you had sufficient information to debate, to decide on that.
us on the board of CNZ, do we need to ourselves from
To
that?
just it's only, I don't have advice from much, and particularly because we hope to take these as a block. We could just note.
And we'll notice.
We'll just note that.
Thank you.
Take back from that. A33, wastewater. The moving secretary were happy with this. You got advice on Tuesday about it. So it can be put today.
Check, I thought that it wasn't deferred anymore. I thought we were continuing with the consenting process now.
We'll get to, my understanding is that it's continuing with the commissioners. Oh, you're back. I won't give my understanding. What's your understanding?
We're still working through the requirements that the commissioners have asked for processing. It required some additional consenting around discharges, wastewater discharges and extreme weather events, that sort of stuff.
So we've decided to continue with the process instead of stopping to wait till new rules or whatever. Yeah, that's it.
That work is still ongoing at the moment.
Yeah, so we haven't deferred it.
It's not deferred waiting for new rules.
So can you explain 3?
So we, so this resolution was particularly about the planting and the, so it was site maintenance, so it's underway, there's no additional.
Yeah, that's not very clear then, is it? Oh, so basic site maintenance is related to the plantings.
So, yeah.
It's just maintaining the trees and the trees.
So, can I just check with you about resolution number 1, that councillors are waiting for the outcome of the deferred wait more, is it?
We took out the word
Yeah,
deferred.
did we have to take out the word deferred there?
Not deferred, it might be at the commissioner point, it's paused while they're waiting for
Ongoing.
information.
The consent process is being deferred.
Yeah, it's, I guess you could say it is ongoing, but we have to wait until we've put in place those other, take the deferred work out.
So we'll just so there's no confusion there.
Sure.
A44 Transport Springfield Road. So it was discussed on Tuesday, so you have sufficient information to make that decision today.
Is it possible to add a 3 that the community board receives an update as soon as possible?
I move that and seconder, okay with
On the
that.
move that Councillor Templeton, who's happy that the community board receives an update as soon as we have to.
Oh, yeah.
So it's so we write it as request that staff report.
Or update the community board. Doesn't have to be updated.
Oh, actually, could we change 1 to request that staff report back to council and the community board?
Oh, that would work, wouldn't it? Thank you. Then we don't need 3.
I don't need a 3.
This just highlights, this is one of the ones that I know aligns with the community board priority. So highlights the fact that we don't know about community board priorities.
Yes, it does. It's in
No, I'm
there.
saying it does align with it. So would it be helpful to add some gravitas to that, to say that it's that it has already been identified as a community board priority and work was already underway?
Should we say the staff report?
I put that in my original one, so.
Page 45.
Page 45, McFarlane Park toilet block. Do I understand are happy with this? Nah, and it was discussed on Tuesday, so there's sufficient information to debate and make a decision on this motion petition today. So we're on the home run for the noted ones. So A48, community facilities, homelessness and emergency housing, move and seconder. We're happy with this resolution on Tuesday. It was discussed and we had advice. So again, you have sufficient information to make that decision today if you choose. A49 Scruttons Road, again, mover and seconder confirmed the resolution on Tuesday. You got advice about it, so there's sufficient information to make that decision today as well.
Sorry, my understanding is, I mean, we couldn't cut the funding today, but we could certainly rephase it.
So that, yeah, so that's not today, you can't do that, that's why you're getting advice about that. You'll get advice after this meeting. So A53 Linwood Regeneration Project. So that move and second agreed to this on Tuesday. It was discussed on Tuesday, so there is sufficient information to vote on that today.
Sorry, the concern raised was that there's only $20,000 to do this work. It's going to require a lot more, and there's a whole bunch of capital projects in the current draft annual plan and long-term plan going ahead before this work is even done. So my understanding was we were going to get more information at that briefing in July, similar to probably the emergency housing one. Not deferring it for another year, which basically means that we've lost the benefit of doing the plan because most of the capital will be spent.
So do you want this one changed to?
I was just wondering if it
we
could
have to ask the second as well as request the council report back on.
So my understanding is that we're getting briefed. There's a council briefing happening first week of July on this.
That's correct.
And so as part of that briefing, I guess the question is options to, you know, either fund or to ensure that that work can happen.
So shall we, can we come back to this one? We'll script a resolution that captures that idea, that notes that council are getting a briefing about this in July. For the end of the triennial and
I think there's two issues. There's the resourcing required to do the planning, and then there's the issue with the funding available to do things that come out of the funding. But it would be good to get that clarity at the briefing. As I've said, there's a number of projects that are currently underway that will be done ahead of the plan, unless there's some thought given to
So-
that might exist one, funding is there for the planning, it's just for what comes out of the plan.
okay. So we'll draft this since the move and second changes this Tuesday. So we'll try and capture that and come back to that. Put it up.
Something like a potential prioritisation.
We'll try and draft something and
Thank you.
to look at. Yep. So the next one, parts 54. The seconder agreed to this on Tuesday, and it was discussed on Tuesday. So that is enough information today. A55 Aranui Playground renewal, the seconder agreed to this on Tuesday. It was discussed on Tuesday, so you have sufficient information to debate that today. And toilets again, move in seconder. We're heading with this resolution on Tuesday, and it was discussed in the sufficient information that you have to be able to discuss that today. So those are the noting things that we will hopefully be able to move. Intends to move in.
Right up to page 14.
Because none of them have the
So if we now move on to the ones that have, and we'll come back to refining that resolution before you move into debate. The ones that actually do have either impact on rates, revenue, or service delivery, and move through those probably in block. So Recon Sport and Property is our first block, that's starting on page 15. So the first one is the tertiary student rate. This was the mover and seconder. Wasn't recommended by staff, but information was given, so it can be voted on today. We do note that it has a updated sports that it would impact.
Obviously, I'd model $200,000, but doing some remodeling, it's 154,000, so it's a reduction in the impact.
So
Instead of doing 0.73.
Victoria?
Just a quick question. When staff presented to us at the beginning of the annual plan process, did they look at this in the fees charges as an option? Did we look at it back then?
Yeah, it was part of that pricing elasticity and all the reports and benchmark we did do. We had discounted it at that point, we didn't include it. And it's hence our advice is consistent with that, which is.
So it was presented as an option in the workshop.
So no.
We rejected it.
No, it wasn't presented as an option in the workshop because we can have a workshop on our fees and charges. We presented in terms of how we've gone through to get to the fees and charges we recommended, which is part of our pricing elasticity report and benchmark.
So it wasn't, it was presented in an information session, or it wasn't?
It was presented in an information session. It wasn't workshopped.
So the next bit that I didn't quite catch you before is
yes, you've done the modelling at 154, is that what you're modelling it at?
Yes, but it's modelled, but it depends how many people.
a guess, it's more than a guess, but it's not somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
It's like the cover we can get.
Can I just, I'm gonna check, does it take into account, so while the discount might be incorporated, because that's the way we do it, so the difference in the price when the people turn up, because we haven't been assessing how many students are coming, we don't know if the overall revenue would be up at the same time. So you might get more people attending, therefore more income overall, but we wouldn't ever be able to measure that, is that right?
Just slow down, because it's hard to hear.
Yes, in terms of in the modelling, in terms of we have got the people that would receive the discount offset by the new people that would come at the new price. Work through that. So in terms of offsets to get the net impact on the revenue that we have. No, we don't know exactly how many tertiary students are going to come. And the other factor is it's just off casual pulling through. So it's not off concession cards, it's not off memberships, it's just the pulling through component of it. And it also hasn't taken account those that have community services cards or other things that they may be getting the discounts or work. So there's a few things to work through. Hence we've gone with a model of the information we do have.
We don't know currently how many students, tertiary students come in this one, no.
To save the I wanted to change it, and hopefully I'm wondering if Nigel can chime in here and seeing if it's in order, but actually start it permanently from July 1, 2026.
July 1/29.
Gives it time to adjust.
All fees are able to be, looked at together at that time. And essentially avoid a
do it now.
considered at once and makes.
In the next annual plans.
Smart.
Really, yeah.
Thanks, Kelly.
Why would it?
To 1 July 2026 is easier for the financial modelling in year. Yeah.
Karakuri will be online too.
Because you
try it for a year.
Fees at once. So do you mean?
So you're looking at trialing it for a year and then do.
No,
One conversation, guys, come on.
Victoria had a hand up next.
Down. You could lose it.
Clarify, please, Nigel, what was the staff advice on this in terms of whether you recommend that we proceed or not?
Staff advice was that there was a community services card discount and other discount cards are available for people where price was a barrier. So our staff recommendation was not to proceed.
Thank you.
So can we just clarify, the mover has asked for it to be 1 July. 2026, I don't know what the seconder thinks.
Very enthusiastic.
Very enthusiastic.
Ten young'uns.
It makes no, we can support a neutral about when it starts, is that correct?
Yeah, we'll do as quick as we can, but recognise July is just around the corner.
Oh, no, next year.
Next year.
Yeah, no.
Still just around the corner.
Righto, we've got to get going. Mel,
Okay,
Mel's of
great.
it, righto,
Can
so,
I just ask one more question on that?
yes, Paula?
Sorry, Nigel, is there an added admin cost to this? Is it going to be difficult to administer? Because it brings in another.
No, it's just adding one button to the point of sale to do it. So it's not-
Okay, all good. We're moving
Great,
on.
okay, moving on.
Cannon Hall
So
present.
A46 Cannon Hall Crescent, that was put forward on Tuesday, discussed on Tuesday, wording confirmed, and it was enough information to put it today.
Just, is it's one property, so it's 1,200, whatever it is, a quarter acre or whatever. It just seems when we put up a site to sale, someone around the table turns around, oh no, usually in their own ward saying, oh no, that's really important to the community. So I'm just wondering, the ecological value of a 1,200 square metre section over the entire Port Hills, I'm just wondering how that's, how important is this?
Debate.
Okay,
So it's the land value is 30.
Let's debate.
Oh, yep, okay,
Yeah.
yep.
There's enough
Well, just-
information to put that debate, you can debate that.
Yep.
So we're not going to get time for that.
Have a wee read of that.
Over.
Question on that. So the property disposals have not been baked in because we don't know what value they would bring in. So this is no impact, correct?
Sorry.
It's answered on Tuesday. Do you want to answer that again?
Property disposal has not been baked in, so there's no impact on.
So we bank in $3 million per annum as capital revenue.
Yeah.
But knowing this is risk, we actually sell properties, there's market risk for what will be, that's a conservative figure.
Okay.
So a single property, withdrawing a single property like this doesn't affect that 3 million.
Thank you.
target.
But it still stops us getting X whatever dollars in.
Yeah, but it doesn't
That's
affect
debate.
what they've baked in.
That's debate. Yeah.
Sorry.
No, forget about that.
That was the answer to my question. It doesn't affect the debate.
Okay. A56.
A56, investigation of voice Stokes parking. This was seconded, discussed on Tuesday, so there's sufficient information to put that, make that and put that today. Page A21, Bangor pump station. This was moved and seconded on Tuesday. Information was provided on this. So there's sufficient information to debate, put this in debate this today. Just want to make sure, clarify with this, is when I say there's sufficient information, because it was asked about this one, it doesn't necessarily mean it's consistent with staff advice. It means there's sufficient information to make this.
And the rate impact, 0.01 again?
Existing budgets.
Does it say existing budget?
Yeah, but you have to bring, if you're bringing it forward, it has an impact now instead of later.
That's right.
Yeah.
So can we have that clarified, because I had it noted as.
No, I'm looking at parts and they say no.
It's no.
No impact.
That's correct.
Sufficient job swap.
Well, they're just saying no.
Okay.
Yeah, it's no.
It's just job swap.
Great, okay, move on.
A15.
A15,
Page
this is
18.
the section about community aspects. There's the accessibility grant that was discussed on Tuesday. The mover and seconder were happy with this resolution. The rate impact was discussed on Tuesday, so you have enough information to put that today.
Can I just check though, is it a fund or a grant, or because it's not allocated to external organisations, it's just a line item in the budget, isn't it? It's not a grant or a fund.
Yeah, it's a fund that can be funded externally or internally, but it's not, so it's not a grant application process.
You haven't seen the terms of reference or anything.
Used by transport to cut down a curb, it can be given to an organisation to upgrade a facility.
Okay, cool.
I normally get sent an email when staff are suggesting between departments and they go, what do you think? And they just take it off and do it that way. It's pretty simple, but it means that when they hit a speed bump within their departments, they can do it.
Everyone clear about that, not a grant, it's a fund.
Okay.
Yeah, great. So then the next one was about culture galore. It was moved and seconded, it was discussed on Tuesday, and it can be put, there's enough information to put that today. No. Bay's emergency response. This was moved and seconded, were happy with this on Tuesday. It was discussed on Tuesday. Long wait and it catches, so there's enough information to put that today. Transport block now, A1 school crossing raised platform.
I'm just not quite sure under A38. Like, I support the idea of doing it, but do we need to specify a quantum? But we don't know how much.
What do they apply for?
In a year's time, they'll come back and say, well, we're getting what we want, or we don't get, and then we can revise then.
No, I mean, like, okay, so I presume this means it goes into strengthening communities. That's kind of the idea. So they'll put forward a request for X, and we'll consider it as part of that.
No, there's civil
defence
funding, as I understand it.
So the debate on or discussion on Tuesday was about framing it like this so they could utilise any funding. That so that some may come to secondary, some might come to civil defence. That they didn't on Tuesday, you didn't want to be specific about the
Yeah,
funding.
that's
and
fine,
one to one.
as long as they get the opportunity to come back and say, this is meeting our needs or it's not meeting our needs.
I'm just not sure what we're agreeing to in terms of quantum of funding.
You're not agreeing to that. You're waiting till you get the application and it's clear and then.
Go through the process. Okay.
So it's a
Great.
zero impact.
Great.
So on to transport Harewood Road Crossing Range platform. This was discussed on Tuesday. Move and seconder, happy with it. You have enough information to debate and put this today. Next one, transport Linwood Road PT corridor. Lincoln Road. I kept on calling it Linwood last on Tuesday as well. Lincoln Road PT corridor. The move and seconder, happy with this. It was discussed and information provided on Tuesday. So you have sufficient information to debate and put this today.
Financial year it was 0, and then for the following one.
Mitch, are you able to?
Zero
Yeah,
in
so
front,
many
zero,
Oh,
zero
the
this
8.
year. Okay.
Oh, so it might be 2025.
Spread over a bit, no, it's spread over about 4 years.
Oh, okay.
Can I ask a question on that? Is it to Lynette? If we were to bring the funding forward for that, but would that then risk NZTA funding potentially? Yeah, I'm just asking for you to explain that fully to us. Please.
Well, the point of pushing this project out in the draft LTP was to enable staff time to do the business case to get the funding. If we bring it forward and start work in the next financial year, we haven't done the business case to get funding.
Yeah.
So we
we're cutting.
we will just carry on with the project and we won't put in a case for NZTA funding.
So Te Aratai cycleway, for example, will.
Okay, all right, go with Sarah, then Aaron, then Vic.
What's the pot of money like for public transport under the current LTF?
Government advice is that it's increased, and it has increased. The pot has increased, but most of it is being used in Wellington.
Yeah.
So there isn't the pot is the work category is currently oversubscribed.
Likelihood of us getting funding anytime soon for this is slim, at which point the costs will increase.
The point of delaying it that staff had put forward at a previous workshop was to delay it so that we were ready for the next NLTP when we would be in a situation where we would be able to say this is what we want.
Thanks.
Aaron?
Yeah, so my question is, if once we signal we're happy to fund something, don't they normally go, well, we're happy to fund it, we're out? That's been the track record, isn't it?
Because why should they?
Well, they are out because we haven't followed their process.
Right.
Urging on debate, but yeah,
Okay,
great.
right,
Clarify
debate.
with this.
And
Not
pulling out anyway.
Vic, and then we'll move on.
So my question then comes down to deliverability. If we're pulling projects forward, regardless of whether there's a budget line in that affects the rates or not this year, surely logic will say that then adds to the pressure and the deliverability of our capital program.
This is a challenge. This has been considered in the deliverability review that we did, and we did think
To deliver next year.
To deliver next year, and we did think it was. It is already an existing project that we have project manager and staff working on. So it's one of those ones that could go either way. It was the delay was really about being able to do the business case, not the deliverability of it.
Okay.
Just one limit while you're there. How much potential may we miss out on from NZTA?
Oh, what did we cut? It was about 5.8 million for the whole project. That was that was the 51% of 67% of the project.
So this is just one stage of the project.
Yeah.
But this is the big stage. The other bit's the small bit.
Yeah. So the figure you gave the other day was 8.5. So you're saying NZTA are potentially willing to fund up to 75%?
Yes, but we won't have done a business case for sorry, that was 5.8. 5.8 is of the whole project, of the whole of stage 2. And this is the bulk of it, so it'll be 51% of 67% of that of
So the
8.5.
So the 5.8 is not the amount we're talking about on this project here today. 'cause we're
No,
talking about
it's
just
for the
2B.
whole of stage 2.
So what would the amount potentially be for just 2B?
I haven't got a calculator on me, I'm sorry.
Less than the grant to the Air Force Museum.
Put it this way, we're not gonna get any dough.
About 3 million.
Yeah. Melanie,
So if we did do the business case and go through that process, I mean, when realistically when would we actually be able to start?
With the goal would be to get the business case through the process in the next 2 years, which is just the 24, so that we're ready for the next NLTP in 27. We'll be starting at the beginning of the next 27 year.
But it's unlikely to be funded under the current regime, is it?
No, the current GPS supports public transport. We didn't have a business case in the system to get it supported.
Okay, so you're saying.
And the current investment prioritisation assessment that was done showed this as having a good case for getting funding. It was a 4. So that's why we proposed to delay it to put business case through, because it had a good chance through the system. So that's what we're saying. It's a crystal ball, but.
Okay, so have we one more question, please?
So if you're saying that to wait for NZTA funding, which we may or may not get to pick up 2 million, will the project increase in cost by 2 million by 2 or 3 years' time? Therefore, not to do it now.
5.8 was a
To bid on it.
Well, she
It's
says
3 million for this, sorry, councillor McDonald, it's 3 million for this section.
Yep.
That 5.8, 3 million of that is this
what we'd miss
section.
out on.
So 3 million.
3 million is the total cost.
No, 5.8 is the total cost.
No,
3
we're
million.
only doing half of it, Sam, you're not listening.
Can I, well, if I could ask my question,
So I don't know how much, sorry, to go back to councillor Cotter's question, I don't know how much it will increase by, but inflation is showing that all our construction projects are increasing.
So we could be better to bite the bullet and just do it, and because we might not realise the real value of that $3 million. No, this is a question though, because it's important.
No, it's not a question I can answer, I'm sorry.
Well, the thing is, if we don't put a business case until 2026-7 and don't start till 27, it's a couple of years, isn't it?
Money's also worth less in a couple of years. It's the same. Things don't actually cost more in the future. It's just the value of
Thank
money.
you.
Just to clarify funding.
okay, right, one last question from Sarah and then we're moving on.
And tell the residents.
I don't know who's the best person to answer this one, but that bus goes out to a fast growing part of the city. What's the impact if we don't, the longer we wait, it's an area of the city that's growing really fast, the more clogged our streets are going to get if we don't have decent bus service.
So you had previously had advice from us on this around through the workshops, and we said we've worked with ECAN and we don't believe that's a risk over the next 3 or 4 years. So that the modelling has shown that this is about future proofing it. We understand the perception, but the modelling is showing that we still have it on plan and it is not a risk of delaying it.
So what we're hearing from ECAN and the media at the moment is that we're not doing enough.
so just so I'm really, really clear, I've been asked before. So what is the total amount of money we would miss out on from potentially miss out on from NZTA?
On this chart.
If we were to pass this?
So can I take a step back?
Yep.
So section 2 is split into 2 subsections, 2A and 2B. The total for section 2 is 5.8 million if we didn't put a business case in at all for the whole of section 2. For 2B that we are passing today, it is approximately 3 million.
What proportion is funded by NZTA?
For that portion.
The assumptions that we've made for this project, full stop, is that we would get subsidy on approximately 67% of the project.
So 2 mil.
Not a subsidy of.
No, 3 mil, because this costs
So can I just
No.
clarify, you said this section was 3 million total?
No,
And so
this section is the
60%
subsidy.
Section would be.
Oh, of the
The subsidy is 3 million in this
Right,
section.
okay, that's what I was after.
Subsidy
Yep.
loss is 3 million.
Okay, so it's 3 million.
Right.
Yep, perfect.
Now, I
Thank you.
said we wouldn't have any more questions. Andre, have you got?
Yeah, so just go for, there's no guarantee of funding in a few years' time. You apply for it and you hope to get it. And the last couple of years we applied for funding.
Okay.
Not got it. Cool.
Debate, right?
It's a question to clarify that it's not actually funding sitting there waiting. It's money you would hope to get. That's what I'm trying to clarify here.
But we rule out getting it if we pass this.
Yeah, but you rule in cost escalation.
We get the
Like we
job
rule out
done.
defence funding if we pass the other one.
A30.
Okay, A30 footpaths, this will go. It was discussed on Tuesday, was based on the information provided and available to the community. Therefore, is the sufficient information to.
Is there a rating impact?
Tuesday, so we can just clarify.
There's no rating.
There's no rate impact in my understanding. Yep, no.
No rating.
Zero.
Andre?
Yeah, just go, because we weren't able to get information on this before the annual plan, and I'm just worried here, like, if what we're asking for, and let's say we have an information session in 2 weeks' time, but the budget in the annual plan is, say, 100 grand short to deliver things we're after, but we're 2 weeks late to allocate that budget, I'm just, you know, we'll end up feeling a bit hard done by, I'd say, if we're 2 weeks late for. You know what I mean?
It's been
You don't know what I mean?
being prioritised in the programme, I think.
Yeah, but there's an amount of budget in there. And so the long-term plan amendment was that we're putting things forward to then inform the 25-26 annual plan. We're now at the 25-26 annual plan, but we haven't got the information on what this program will look like to be able to make a decision on the annual plan based on that. So if what we're putting here, then we find out in 2 weeks that our budget in the annual plan is 100 grand short for what we're trying to deliver, but we're 2 weeks late to fix that.
No, I don't think it's an issue.
The long-term plan budget is more than sufficient.
We're just going over what we talked about.
Yep, so that won't be tripped up by that.
You see what I'm saying, right?
Yes, but you won't get it trip up.
Next, A50, Bromley Road.
Roads, yep. That's was moved and seconded. They were happy with this resolution. This is allocating 26 and 4 million in 26-27.
And 2026, less than 0.01%, and FY 27, 0.02%, and in FY 28, 0.03%.
Okay, happy with that? Move on. Transport wood. So that. Yeah.
One.
You said 26, 27.
FY 26 is less than 0.01%.
25.
FY 27.
What did you say, 25? Okay,
0.02%.
thank you.
Right, Woodhouse Street.
So, Transport Woodhouse Street, include a budget of 50K. It was moved and seconded and discussed on Tuesday.
FY 26, less than 0.01%.
Right, okay, so there was sufficient discussion and information. Now on to
Page
page
21.
21. You want to ask a question before I move on to these, or?
Yeah, I just did around today's process to either of you on all of the amendments that have no rates impact. Would you potentially just move all of those together so then people can save their debate space for the ones that they really need to try and win people over on?
I thought there was one debate.
Yeah, but there is only one debate, but that way it takes a whole lot out that's not going to be overly contentious.
So councillors can choose what they debate on. Most of you will debate on things that are contentious.
So in that case, my question is, are you happy to move all of the ones that have zero rates?
I don't think you'd want that, given the speed humps in that category.
Yeah. So we are going to take.
But that has a cost.
No, they're going to do it within the budget.
So we
Also.
probably don't want to, I'd need to check with them.
It's a freebie, it's an add-on, I got.
No, we didn't take
So
it.
I'm gonna just clarify, we need to check with the mayor in the break, but my understanding is that from the discussion, the direction he gave the team today is that he wants to take all the information and request one as a block, but every other item to be moved consecutively one by one because it impacts on activities.
All the ones that we did first will go one hit, right up to page 15. And so when we go forward. Yes, Celeste.
Just before we move on to the next section, can I just ask a question?
Yeah.
In terms of the pest plant management one, I've just sent through some, or I've provided some revised wording. My email's not working, so I've updated Sam, she can circulate it. It's just a slight tweak to what I put up.
We've got one.
Okay, A6.
So A6, so just to clarify, these were resolutions that were put on Tuesday and discussed on Tuesday. But we wanted some more information, and the lead and seconder wanted some more information before the resolution. These the first two, A6 and 7, have been worked on with the lead and seconder and water finance and the team. And the lead and seconder are happy with these as they stand. It's identified in the resolution because it wasn't clear on Tuesday what the actual rate impact are. So these can be put today. But we wanted to put them up before the resolutions have been slightly changed, tweaked. So
So it's FY 25, 26, yeah. So it's in the coming financial year.
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
So if we're just to be clear, there's a different way of different people use that.
Yeah,
FY
people have been doing it differently.
25-26 is the same as FY 26.
Yes, depends
So
who
it
you're listening
depends
to.
which
Yeah.
financial.
Some of the things we've said aren't this coming year, they're going to be 26, and so therefore they're not being used and consistent.
Yeah. So FY 26 means 25, 26. FY 27 means 26, 27. Okay, great. So these are clear. I think they were discussed. It's just sharpening up the things. The next one, Paddington Park toilets. This one was confirmed by the seconder today or yesterday, and they've just been tweaked since the discussion on Tuesday. So we wanted to make sure everyone was clear.
That was your wording that you sent through by.
Councillor Scandrick agreed with that. Given two together. Yeah, so that's right. I saying the two
Sorry,
together.
I'm
Sorry
sorry,
about that. No. So happy with that. The information was given on Tuesday. It was discussed, so it was just a refining of the resolution.
So that's that one, eh? That's what's in there.
Yeah. It was discussed on Tuesday, and we just needed to refine and confirm the resolution. And so I think we've confirmed with Fields and Coker that they're happy with that. So it can be put today.
I wanted to put the money amount. I think that's what I said on Wednesday, wasn't it? On Tuesday.
This was what was noted on Tuesday, but if you want to change it, we can just debate, because we've got two that councillors are wanting to change, and if you can do this one. So can you clarify what you want, and then we can
put the amount.
What amount?
200,000.
200,000.
To be administered by Christchurch. Sorry.
Which one?
36. Oh, sorry, 36. Yeah.
Yeah, and number one. item number 1.
Otherwise, it's just like we're just asking them to do what they're already doing. But at the moment, we're asking them to do something that we're not funded to do.
Yep.
How would we word that so that, because we're effectively increasing the overall budget for CNZ, but asking them to do a specific task?
I guess we'd script something that we provide additional funding to Christchurch NZ with the expectation that they do ABC.
Because we've asked them to do a specific task within the letter of expectation, which is to report separately on bank financial stuff, but we've done a destination management plan, so we're not actually like supporting them to be able to implement.
But does that mean, I'm just, so I've got to clear my mind.
No worries.
Does that mean, I'm not for this one, but in general, we could then go, all of the 15 million a year, I could bring an amendment and say, I want 2 of that to go directly to events. To like, is that what we're, because that's the precedent this would set.
No, this is giving them more.
This is giving them additional money and also telling them how to spend it to target to this activity.
So I could.
Well, that's what the
Yeah.
councillors.
But I'm just saying,
suggested,
what
not what's done.
effectively what we'd be adopting those perhaps we could say, we revoke all the funding and instead of having a letter of expectation, fund activities. Is that what
Could end up with.
Well, that's what we can, which if we can, then I mean, that's something we'll work towards for next year.
Well, we do that with their events.
But we haven't got, we
I'm happy
haven't
to-
got a resolution about that today, and we couldn't use that today because we have to. But
it's almost precedent.
If it's making particularly Victoria.
Guys, could you listen to Tyrone? Thanks.
Because, yeah, I mean, I don't want to start creating some kind of precedent. I mean, I'm just eager to be able to support a particular initiative.
Could we, I'm just thinking of a way through, could we ask them to do it? And if not, they come back to us?
Well, the other
I'll be
thing
pragmatic
is
about it,
that
it's fine.
if
I'm
you,
just saying, because if you're trying to get an outcome, it might be, we go, because I think we should be
I'm
putting.
not trying to bash it through, I'm just trying to get a good
But we
outcome.
would put like a tension on them and go, hey, can they actually do it? And if not, come back, because they might have some options on stuff they're doing now that they go, actually, it's not providing best value. I just don't want to set a precedent where the council can literally line by line dictate everything they're doing.
but if you look at 2, they're not keen.
but we come back with a resolution. We'll come back with a solution.
No, I've got a question,
Yeah,
sorry.
You're getting a question.
I've got a question, clarity. So the resolution asks for us to put this in the letter of expectation at the end of this year. Your statement of intent comes back, when is it? I don't think this would be. Financial.
The letter of
year.
expectation already asks them to report separately back on Banks Peninsula initiatives.
You've asked for it to go into the letter of expectation in this December.
Well, I mean, that's the resolution as it's come back to me. I don't necessarily agree with it.
I don't think this funding would pass and kick in till 26, 27.
Let's just ask them what's required to implement the destination management plan, and then they can come back to us, tell us what that is.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Wait, we're right on the last page.
Thank you.
Okay, so
That's good.
Tyler, then Tim.
That's fine, if it's being restructured, I don't need to ask a question.
Yeah, look, I totally get where you're coming from, Tyrone, regards to this, but following along what Sam's saying, we need to question the priorities of the funding they already have and ask that question. So I totally get the priority and the importance of it, but I can't add another 200K because it's just giving them extra money to do something. So I'm just explaining.
So just to be clear, that's debate. So we're going to amend this resolutions to have listing it in there. There's an additional one that requests Christchurch NZ to advise of any additional funding will be required.
Yeah, that'll do.
Okay. And the
So
last,
there's a zero rate impact.
Is there going to be a follow-up to the request for the visitor levy? The aspiration is to actually apply for the
It's not
visitor.
in this, isn't being debated, you can't decide on that today.
Thank you for your feedback.
and the last one, Morehouse
Morehouse Ave.
Stewart Street.
That was discussed on Tuesday.
Mhm.
The meeting seekers are working with us, and so it can be today.
Can I just check just on the wording? Where are we deferring it to?
Yeah.
Is it deferring it for a year?
Delete, that's fine.
The deleting the, I mean, are we deferring it for until the next long-term plan so we can make a decision on it then? Or
till the next
to get some
LTP.
more to the next, so 20
You need the full
FY
overview.
27?
I think it might, it'd be good to defer it until the
Yeah.
working party reports back on the cost of doing stuff. This is only for a business case. So it's just insane amount of money, a single set of traffic lights.
So
It's been
why,
300K, so-
actually, I think councillor Timothy's right, to identify
Yeah.
time, so defer the line item improvement
2051.
consideration the next.
Happy with that, yeah?
Yeah.
2051 would be fine.
Should be a year
Timmy's turn.
My understanding Stewart Street that was put forward because of the connectivity. So there's no point doing it until we understand the traffic and footprint. So if we're going to defer it, it should be for 12 to 24 months because
said
the
24.
because the principle of the whole start of this thing. Well, I'm just saying, we need to get.
24 months, be deferred to 24 months.
So just before we move on,
Yeah.
clarify, then we had a number that are on the back of your sheet.
Don't you dare.
That wasn't, sorry, just to check, that wasn't really the case. So, no, so.
I definitely lost my one, yeah.
So some of them, some have actually lapsed for one of the secondary, so that's not the same as before.
Like going on a date with yourself.
Yeah. And A47.
Okay, Victoria.
Guys, can we just keep it down?
So these are the ones following on from the other day. What happens to the new ones that I'm aware people are trying to raise today? I know we don't have this one today yet. That has been flagged. There were Councillor Moore flagged his, but isn't putting it on. So, okay, so I'm looking directly over there, Tyrone. If we could have a break. And so we can discuss.
Tyrone.
So Councillor Henstock, staff would like to ask for a break so we can discuss it with Councillor Fields before he puts it forward.
Lovely, I'd be very happy with that.
Okay.
I'm just having tech issues, so I might need to sort that out, but I
No,
know.
so-
Yes, it's the one budget we have. I've just tweaked something, so I've sent it through to Sam. We can discuss it in the break.
How long a time do you think?
Is that another one you've already tweaked?
Yeah.
I'm just late. Aaron.
It's a very minor change, you won't even notice it.
I still had a couple of questions on A16, the water meters. So my first one is in number 1, where it's 3.5 the first year, if I read this right, and then 3.5 the following year. It's the rates impact was 0.01 and then 0.03, but it's the same quantum per year. So how does that?
So I can put that one up.
Team, they did confirm this last night. So.
Because through you, your worship, because it's capital, we don't, not all of it is incurred in the first year, so we split it 40% in the first year, 60% in the second year, so that.
Even though it's the same number.
Even though, yes,
Okay.
that's why it's a phasing of our capital expenditure.
Yeah, and then the other one was, and because we haven't workshopped this, it's hard to know, but the number of properties, do we know how many a single line water line going into multiple units across the city? So we know how many are not metered, but because if you're single line, then my next follow-on question is, what is the solution? Is it a new line to every property, or do we
To
have?
clarify, that is what number 2 is there for. So that staff will report that regarding the implementation and will advise on that.
So we don't know what it's going to be spent on.
Yeah, so which is we're going to. Yeah,
you don't have specifics. Yeah.
Well, no, I want to know before we commit money to something that the problem can be solved, because it might be without putting in new lines. Yeah.
So just Claire, Brent just arrived back this morning, so I just wanted to check whether Tim needed to come in. We did the work yesterday.
So the smart meter technology does allow us to do exactly what you've said, which is, so without having to run in where you've got multiple lines running into multiple properties, you can actually put them on. We have the ability to do that under the. We don't have the numbers. I haven't got the numbers for you as to how many of each.
Okay, so my question is, how does it work when it's all on one line? Can it differentiate each?
That's what I said. We have the ability to go in where the line, after it's branched off.
So it takes off unit 6, then unit 5 and works its way backwards. Okay, and that's a smart, so someone doesn't go into the property to read it. That's remotely that system we're talking about. So no one goes in.
They wouldn't have to.
Okay, because that was my concern, is around safety on that.
Oh, good. That's great. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
We're really motoring along now. We've got Vic, Sarah and Kelly.
So can I clarify, please, in relation to the one that we referenced before about Andre, is this the one that was on Facebook last night, or is there another one? Post about the Kart Club.
Yeah, so Mary's mentioned getting a report to us over the coming months. We're going to get something in January, February.
Okay, well, I just wanted to check that was that one, not anything else that's floating. Okay, so have we got some clarity on how many new ones we've got today that we didn't know about?
There's one potential new one today, which we're going to discuss with Council Fields.
And something coming through from Celeste.
Oh, just changing
It's
words.
not a new one, it's just a tweak to the wording.
So we have.
Thank you.
So we've got, have a break.
Just again, that.
That tweaked language that councillors are tweaking today, and we'll bring those back to you to just so everyone's clear about what they're debating.
Okay, so, yep, so we still have two questions, Sarah then Kelly. Yeah, good. Sarah, Cal, did you?
I'm fine.
Okay, right. How long we want, Mary?
2 years.
2 years.
Long enough to be
To decision making and debate. There's a rate update so that you're making informed debate. So the team's going to give an impact of all the resolutions were passed and also an update of some new information we've got yesterday or today.
We came into today at 6.77%. If all the amendments that are on the table are adopted, it will take us to 6.81%. So increase. We were also advised this morning that there has been some additional rating growth. There has been a surge in subdivisions being processed by our provider, significant than we would have thought. Enables us to reduce the rates by 1.5 million. That's about 0.2%. So taking that into account, it's back to 6.6%, 6.60%. The split of that with Te Kaha being at 1.75%, which we've budgeted for, leaves the balance of the rates, the general rates at 4.85%. Wow. Good job. So it'll be 4.5% or slightly less depending on the amendments. Just double the rate.
Sort of stadium, I guess.
Yeah. I'm looking at a bit of paper here. Okay. Right, any quick questions on that? Andre, thank you.
Just to clarify, 6.60 was the figure including if all amendments were adopted. And so it'd be 6.56 if they weren't, or where we're at now. So the implication of all amendments from is 0.04. Have I got that right? Okay, thank you.
Right. Okay, thank you. Yes.
Was the timeline for the reporting back on the management strategy in 25 or 26? Might have been a typo in there. I just can't see it. It's been 25, sorry. It's a mistake.
26.
Oh, I
25, 26.
But it had a month in it rather than a.
26.
Thank you. Yes.
Supposed to say 25.
So there was just a misunderstanding around the financial year stuff. So it's this September. Right, isn't it? Thank you. Sorry.
So will you be able to produce a coordinated strategy in 2 months? Rupert?
I think it's pushing the boat out, frankly. It's quite a complex matter. It covers 3 waters, transport parks.
How about update on the
You
strategy?
get an update, but.
Yeah,
you're not-
update's
you're not
fine.
gonna
Update. Yeah. Yeah.
You're just reporting on the strategy,
On an
not having the full
update
strategy.
on creating a.
There's no way.
Update the council on.
Yeah.
Okay, right. So here we go here. There. We will now have one debate for all amendments and the main debate for the draft annual plan. This includes all recommendations 10 to 26. Okay, so who wants to, and just because we've all got 3 minutes, it doesn't mean to say that's it. But anyone is more than welcome to have their say if they want to. Who would like to be first?
Sorry, did you say a debate on just the amendments?
Everything.
The entire, the recommendations.
The whole
10.
shebang. Thank you. Okay. Right, we'll move on.
I'll go first.
Yeah, Mel, yep.
I ask council to support getting on with the public transport lane on Lincoln Road. Please hear from David Hawke, who thinks you should too.
David Hawke from Hallsville Residents Association here. When City Council drew up the South West Area Plan nearly 20 years ago, it envisaged a public transport future. All the new subdivisions had spine roads designed to fit buses. As these subdivisions rolled out post-earthquake, City Council included a public transport priority lane along Hallsville and Lincoln roads in its 2016 long-term plan. We're now at the point where central government has committed $60 million for its part and is covering 51% of the cost of the increased frequency of the number 7 bus. But City Council is chickening out and thinks it can keep kicking the can down the road. But if you think that we're coping just fine, you should know that we have another 500 houses well connected to public transport routes running east from Springs Road, applied for under the fast track approval system. And there's no reason for these developments to stop there. There is land just sitting there waiting for more approval applications. So why is City Council even considering delay? Kia ora.
I would also like council to support funding the capital works to the toilet block in Addington Park to change it from a derelict site of antisocial behaviour to a community hub. I've lost my message.
Chair of the Addington Farm Board. Kia ora, I'm Grace, I'm one of the board trustees. We've got a new lease for a corner of Addington Park. And we're really excited for the community garden to take shape here. However, this council facility is an unusable eyesore and it attracts all kinds of antisocial behaviour. So we really need your help by you putting money into the budget for these building upgrades. We will bring the passion and the people to this project. We can't wait to kaitiaki this site. It's going to be an amazing investment in Addington now and for future generations. Ngā mihi nui. Kia ora, I'm Sophie.
And finally, I support the kids of Harewood School having a raised platform outside their gate. Now you can listen to the kids.
We are the road patrol team for Harewood School. We need your help to put all safety measures in place for us. Drivers do not stop or for resident orange signs in the middle of their lane. So are you confident that a couple of lights is all we need to be safe? 2 weeks ago, when about 5-year-olds ran out onto the road, they will stop barking just in time. A raised platform slows down the traffic just in time. Why don't you be just in time for us and say yes to Harewood School children being safe? And install a raised platform for us.
Right, who would like to go next?
I'll go next.
Tim, then Jake.
And I'll be shorter so the kids from Harewood can have a bit more time if they wanted it. But I want to thank my colleagues for being respectful to others' ideas. Every community has its issues and its problems, but we are a city and all those communities join together, and so we've got to have a broader view of things. The only thing that's really disappointed me, and I'm as guilty as others, is that to ensure that when we talk to community groups, they are talking to the right area in council, and there is some acknowledgement and some feedback from council staff there before we come out into public and start talking about things. That's the only thing that's really disappointed me here, and I think we can all do better because we are professional councillors, so I think we need to just lift our game a wee bit. Especially want to thank staff. Whilst we sit around, and I'm as guilty, and I'm probably more guilty than others with regards to saying, oh look, you know you're busy, but can you do this? We always say it, but I do really compliment and thank you for what you do for the city and for us with this information. So on that, I say thank you, and that's my domain.
Jack?
Also, thanks to the team. Even a light touch annual plan is not a light touch for the people who put it together at the coalface. So, they really make our jobs look incredibly easy by comparison. So thank you to all the departments of council and particularly our finance team. One thing I did want to daylight in the budget is the shuttle, the money for the scoping study of the shuttle, almost a tongue twister. It's great to see that project finally have some resources allocated to it. It's something residents talk to me about a lot, and even in the consultation, it may look as if it was a 60-40 split, but really that 40% still wanted generally the project to go ahead. They just wanted it at a different cost, or they had a different idea about how it could be done. So overwhelming public support. It's a shame that our friends at ECAN haven't really been that supportive, but that is what it is. Again, thank you.
Pauline?
Oh, right, thank you. Look, although many submitters acknowledged and wanted us to actually do more, even if it did mean a slightly higher rate increase, I think it's important to note that. We are doing our best to make the city as affordable as possible. I mean, think about our wonderful free libraries, world class, and no fines for lateness, with our beautiful, well-maintained free parks and gardens, our free family events, heaps of them, and a lot more. We are keeping our people healthy by providing amazing recreational facilities and a gorgeous outdoor environment. We are the envy of New Zealand, and partnering with thousands of volunteers gives us a tenfold value of each dollar at least. So that's financially smart. And looking at what we have and investing in what we need for future, because we are growing. And keeping our people safe, which is why I brought up the McFarlane Park toilet block. It is grotty, it is dangerous, it's dark, surrounded by trees, no light, and it has to be locked up all the time anyway. And also Springfield Road, which has been impacted by the Northern Motorway coming through St Albans. The independent transport engineer had foreseen this in modelling over 10 years. A lot of children crossing in this area, along with a low vision facility and an increasing population. We absolutely must look at this with urgency. And with no impact on our rates increase, I'm seeking your support for this and the McFarlane Park. So I think that we as a council are doing really well for our Christchurch citizens, especially considering that we're still paying for the damage from the earthquakes, floods, fires, terrorism, and COVID over the past 15 years. I mean, that is huge. So we are living also in the best city in New Zealand, one of the best in the world, but I think we should all keep that quiet. As a council, we have a responsibility to invest now and for our future, and that is a cost we must all share. So I think we have achieved a pretty good balance today. A big thank you to our staff and the chief executive here for the hundreds, could be thousands, I don't know, of hours spent on this light touch budget, and for taking all the ideas and proposals, some of them weird and wonderful, from our councillors and from our submitters, and crunching the numbers. We all want stuff, but we must be prudent, and I think we have been prudent. I also want to thank my councillor colleagues around this table for working together so well, finding compromises to arrive at this budget. Thank you.
Tara?
I think I've got 20 seconds now.
Go on.
Sorry, you can have
I'll
it.
take the 22 seconds. Tēnā koutou katoa. First of all, I just want to say a big thank you to the people of Banks Peninsula who have been engaged in this process, and a big shout out to everyone in Banks Peninsula who's listening, and I know there'll be lots of you. I also want to thank you to my council colleagues who last night I had my finger poised on the nuclear button. But thanks to the constructive input from my colleagues and staff today, we've walked back from that, and I think that we've landed in a good place. Just a couple of things I want to comment on. Te Oaka Littleton Museum. So just a bit of backstory on that. The museum was lost, obviously through no fault of its own. It was a council-owned building, and the insurance proceeds weren't returned to the museum. So the Museum Trust are trying to find a way to have it reinstated. They're rallying, fundraising, dreaming of its return, but dreams are free, and we need a foundation on which to build. So I think that what we've landed on today is a really good, just a good place. It's a commitment, and thank you. And I'm asking my colleagues to support me in that commitment. Littleton does get 200,000 cruise ship passengers during the summer, and when they arrive, we currently have no real place to receive them and tell them our story when they arrive. So that museum is really foundational, and a placeholder in consultation next year is not really overly extravagant. The Akaroa visitor economy. So Te Akaroa, it's obviously a breathtakingly beautiful place, rich biodiversity, deep cultural space, but it's also a fragile destination economically and environmentally, and we need to be able to plan properly around destination management for that. The amendment I initially put up wasn't meant to be a handout, but rather a strategic catalyst to fund regenerative tourism initiatives, and there are many of them. I think what we've landed on is pragmatic, and I appreciate my colleagues' input on that today. Which it's really ultimately about sustainability over saturation for Akaroa. Steadfast Reserve Garage. So calling that garage is generous. It's actually a derelict, dangerous structure that's been sitting on prime community land for too long. It's holding up something really exciting, which is a community-led vision for a new facility. So Cass Bay residents are asking for a clear process. Hopefully after today we've got a much clearer process on that. Just a light touch on some other stuff. Capital program rebalancing. We've put a good noting provision in there today that we do need. I was talking to my colleague Mark Peters before about looking further into the future, and I think that we really need to do that as a council, and I think and we're getting to that space now. Multicultural and youth engagement in Akaroa. Akaroa is hurting. What we've got today is a low-cost, high-impact initiative that leverages existing facilities, and let's empower the community on that. The emergency response money for Akaroa, it's a real no-brainer. Community-led resilience is really gold, and residents have done a lot of heavy lifting there, and we need to support that. So I'm just going to close out, Your Worship, if I may. For me, this is really more than a budget. The amendments that I put in about a statement of values, and I value Banks Peninsula, and I hope we all see the value in it. So let's back the Littleton Museum, let's back Akaroa, let's back Pigeon Bay, let's back Cass Bay, let's back Banks Peninsula. Kia ora.
Victoria.
Yeah, thank you. I'm going to speak a little bit more frankly and actually register how frustrated I am with the amendments process that we've had this week. I'm all for smart spending and reducing the burden of rates on our residents, but there's a right way to do it and there's a wrong way to go about it. And I think that what we have seen this week does not reflect best governance practice. And just because we've always done it like this doesn't mean we have to keep doing it like this in the future. We really should not be running a multi-million-dollar organisation like this with a truckload of amendments at the last minute. And what this does is it necessitates last-minute guesses by our staff, which is scribbled on the back of an envelope. And I think it's reckless, and I think it's disrespectful to our staff, because they work really hard to deliver well-considered, evidence-based advice to us. And I think it also makes a bit of a mockery of our community board structure and our decision-making process and priorities, because we're not hearing from them on some of these amendments. So yeah, I've got a real problem with amendments at the 11th hour, because I think it's been for the sake of political theatre, and I'm quite justified in saying that, because we've seen so much of this paid out on Facebook, and we've got a whole heap of amendments that are just noting. Some of them are already in progress, others just a request for information, some inviting groups to make an application for funding. And that says to me that actually these aren't really amendments in the first place. So I think it's an gross abuse of the OP process. So yeah, nothing short of political theatre. I thought that the phrase "the silly season" was reserved solely for the lead up to Christmas. But at this rate, I'm starting to question whether we as councillors should be making any decisions in the lead up into the election, because I think some people have lost their heads. And I think that what we've seen, it really undermines all the good work that actually we have done together on this annual plan. You know, we workshopped a whole heap of amendments that came through from the thematic analysis, and it showed that we have been listening to our submitters. And I'm realistic, we can't grant every request, but we have shown that we're prepared to tighten our belts where we can. The question remains whether we've done enough. Really pleased that the original amendment to reduce the capital program passed that first muster. Thanks, Tyrone, for working with me on that, and I acknowledge your noble efforts in trying to reduce it even further. Deliverability is not an exact science, but I'm really comfortable with where we landed. So finally, happy to say, focused on keeping rates down, but I don't do it blindly. I've supported a number of amendments that increase it because it's the right thing to do, and I recognise that some cost increases we can't control. My mandate to vote today comes from the general public, not just in the consultation feedback what we've got, everyday conversations we have. Final note is on the unbalanced budget. Don't like it, but I'm comfortable with the fact that we have a pathway to get out of it for the time being anyway. It's been a difficult task. We've struck the best balance that we can, and I'm supporting it today.
Thank you. Celeste.
Thank you. I'm going to take a slightly different take on what constitutes political theatre, and I'm not looking at anyone in particular, of course, but I want to start by thanking staff and Sam and Kathy and everyone else. I know this is a huge amount of work and it's been quite painful, but mostly probably for the people having to do the actual work on this. As mentioned, this has always been a bit of a light touch. We've spent a huge amount of time working through the long-term plan, and I actually think we did a great job by and large with a lot of that stuff. So really, a lot of the costs were already baked in. We had 1.75% stadium, which people supported, so we just have to acknowledge where some of those costs are coming from. We're also dealing with new costs forced on us by central government. We're talking about $2 million for water reform. We've got $6 million for replacing some signs, and these decisions weren't made by us, the government mandated. So we don't have a lot of control over that. And it does speak to a bigger problem where councils have been asked to do more, but with less say over how it's done, who's paying for it. So I think what this key point is really about is that it's really vital that we have local input into council decision making wherever possible, and we seek to strengthen that. So that's why I think hearing from the community as part of the annual plan process is so incredibly important. And even within the current budget constraints, and we have to be mindful of those, we need to listen to the community, get advice, and propose changes based upon the feedback we've heard. The council website says community members have the chance to submit feedback and speak directly to decision makers during hearings. And an important part of this is making sure their voices are heard and considered, which is where the amendments come in. So I was really disappointed actually about this proposal to shut down discussion of amendments with a rating impact. Doesn't sit right with me when we're encouraging people to submit on a plan and then shutting down debate over that same plan. If we can have a serious discussion about rates increases, let's talk about some of the amendments that were put forward prior to shutting down discussion on amendments by the same councillor, which has the same rating impacts in terms of DC contributions as all of the amendments combined. So, starting with something positive, I think things go well when we work together collaboratively, we listen to each other, we get good results. So overall, finishing on positive, I support the key elements of this plan. I think that Councillor Barber's amendment is a pragmatic way to get safety improvements along Lower Sticks Road. That was a board priority, and I commend him for putting that forward. It has no rating impact, and that's an amendment that I think is fantastic. There's a number of other amendments that I won't have time to speak to, but I think that people have put forward some really good proposals, and this is the appropriate time to consider them. Speaking just finally, I just want to speak to the people that have taken this time to submit. We do hear you. We appreciate you taking the time to submit, and I appreciate the fact that councillors, by and large, have worked together constructively to bring together an annual plan that reflects your feedback.
Sarah?
Kia ora koutou. My debate has two parts. The first is on the specifics of the annual plan, and the second is on the process in line with Councillor Henstock. So when we have really well-informed conversations with our communities about rates and how rates work and about council finances, we actually get some good responses. So in this year's annual plan, I put up an amendment in the draft for us to consult on increasing rates by a small amount in line with our well-established financial strategy when it comes to rating for renewals. This small amount means that over a period of time, we save the ratepayers $20 million. And it was really good to see that 68% of those who submitted on that agreed with that. And I think that having those more nuanced, deeper conversations with our communities bodes well for the future, and we're able to actually do that when we ask them those questions. We can trust our communities, they do understand more than sometimes we give them credit for. I'd also urge councillors to vote in favour of a small amount of funding to enable more chlorine-free water stations to be installed across the city. It does need some funding to do that. I know it's all well and good for those who didn't want to discuss this on Tuesday, many of whom have a water station either in their ward, next to their ward, or close to where they live. But it's but those are really important for people across the city. Regarding the Air Force Museum, I'm really torn on this one. I know there was good support, but since we went out to consult on it, the government announced a $12 billion injection into the Defence Force. We heard from Councillor Peters that it was probably okay to delay the decision for a year. So I would urge colleagues to hold back. There is potential for the government or the Defence Force to have some funding there rather than our ratepayers. And we all know that central government keeps putting costs on us when they should be wearing them. So I'd urge councillors actually just to not vote in favour of that one today. Let's have a look at that one next year instead. Hey, Ellie. Now, the process. I agree with Councillor Henstock. This has been reckless. It is not governance best practice. And our communities and our staff deserve better from us. However, I would point out that this is the process that was set up by the leadership, by the Mayor, because it is the Mayor's role to run the process for the long-term and annual plans. On our first workshop, in the agenda, it's very clear that that was for information only. It gave us an update. On the second workshop, slides 5 and 6, we're very clear about the amendments process for councillors. Slide 5 in the second workshop on the 22nd of May specified that amendments could only be proposed on the day and that they wouldn't be workshopped in all of those workshops beforehand. So for those councillors who are really grumpy that we've got last minute amendments, it is the process that was set up. So don't blame those councillors who put forward amendments when they were told, and we even asked, and you will remember in the informal earlier this week, we asked if we could get them in earlier and we were told no. I agree the process should be different, it should be better. We should have a chance to workshop all of those ones. And I'd like to do that next year. Thank you.
Tēnā rā tātou katoa. I also hear Councillor Henstock and talking about the process, and lucky for me, I use the thematic analysis to bring these amendments forward today. I want to acknowledge and thank staff for the huge amount of work that's gone into the annual plan, and it's not easily balanced with affordability and service delivery, especially when we can be difficult to work with on top of a process which is difficult to work. I think staff have done a phenomenal job, and us as a group, I think we've made solid progress, particularly walking into the election year. I've submitted a number of amendments focused on future opportunities, fairer access, and finding new ways to generate income. We're not just going back to ratepayers every time we need to fill a gap, hopefully. First up is the $4.90 casual pool entry rate for tertiary students. This brings them in line with the Gold Card and Community Services card holders. UC and UCSA, who represent over 24,000 students, have asked for this, and many students are doing it tough at the moment. They pay rent and with it contribute indirectly to rates. In New Zealand, we lead the OCD in negative mental health outcomes, particularly for this age group. And we know that pools are hubs for wellbeing and connection, and I myself use them 4 to 5 times a week. Around 8 to 12% of eligible students take up the Community Services card, but over 65s get discounts regardless of income. And parents with kindergartners go free during school hours. The only group left out is students. I want to thank the Sport and Rec team, especially Nigel, for working so collaboratively. Absolute champion. It's a simple decision, and with Pari Kia Ora opening in 2026, it's a real opportunity for uptake for the students. Second is Culture Galore. I proposed 25K in FY 26-27 to safeguard this iconic multicultural event, and it's been running for over 20 years. And with the venue shift, it loses community board funding, so this small investment helps keep thousands of people connected through culture. Thirdly is the bus interchange. I've asked for a report on improving safety and overall feel. We've all heard it, people don't always feel safe there, especially at night. We need better lighting, layout, passive surveillance, and even youth worker support, which would make a huge difference. And I'm looking forward to hearing the report that comes back from that. I've also requested a report on how we capitalise staff time on new capital projects, excluding renewals, because we've already addressed that. It's about accounting. We may be already doing a lot of it, but better tracking could unlock real savings and align us with other councils such as Auckland. I've asked staff to investigate income generating options through better use of underused council spaces, things like offices, rooftops, car parks, and digital infrastructure. This could support commercial leasing, community use, and social enterprises without cutting services. We need to be creative in today's day and age without needing to cut levels of service. And finally, I've noted the progress on Homestead Lane crossing near UC. They've been asking for it for years. With thousands of students moving through the area, it's a much needed safety fix. These amendments are practical, community focused, and aimed at building a more efficient and inclusive council, and I hope that you'll support them.
Thanks very much, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, look, I'm pleased with where we've got to in terms of what it looks like the rates increase is going to be. I want to reiterate thanks to staff. I think they do an amazing job to respond to all the amendments. The process has been a bit fraught. I agree with Councillor Henstock. However, I did put an amendment myself, which I want to kind of highlight to everybody and hope that you'll support. It's completing a small section of cycleway, no more than 500 metres long, which has the potential to be a real game changer for our city. It's not actually in my ward, it's just outside it, but with the support of Councillor Donovan, we've decided to put it through. So the Seaside Loop is a 50k loop, which goes around the city. We all know how popular some of these trails are around the country, the Central Otago Rail Trail, the Alps to the Ocean. This has the potential to be similar with our city to sea pathway, starting in the city, going to New Brighton, then out to Spencerville, Brooklands, back to the Waimak and along our fantastic cycleway alongside the Northern Motorway. It's a perfect distance for a lot of people to do in a day. And the only section, the reason that I have an amendment in for this is there's a hideous little dangerous section about 500 metres long, which goes around some S-bends on Lower Styx Road. You'll remember Lower Styx Road was the place where former councillor Graham Condon was killed when out on his wheelchair cycle back in the day. So it is an 80k road, and we want to see families and young people biking along there, and if they can do so safely, and this won't cost anything in terms of rates, because the staff have done a wonderful job of looking at all available budgets. So really pleased to support that, and generally I'm really pleased with where we've got to in terms of rates. So thank you.
Andre.
Thank you. Yeah, I still believe we should investigate operational savings and levels of service within the limitations of an annual plan at the start of this process. Ideally, on a day like today, we'd be here debating some really meaty decisions that might impact rates by 1% or 2% or 3%. But at the end of the day, we're here debating amendments that come to a total of 0.04% rating impact. That's what we're debating today. And it does seem to shame that we're not necessarily debating the remaining 99.96% of the budget. There's a lot in there. In terms of amendments, I'm still disappointed that the public weren't able to be consulted on one I brought a number of months ago, which is asking the public if they want the cathedral levy returned to them or not to be offset against rates. Wouldn't have an impact of 0.66%. So for context, that's 16 times the rating impact of all amendments we are talking about here today in this financial year. 16 times the impact. The press did a poll, it was the most popular saving that came back. We didn't ask the public what they thought. So in my view, we haven't done a job right in that regard. That's the kind of thing you go and ask the public about. But on Tuesday, we were emailed 59 amendments and given about 5 minutes to read them before voting whether to consider ruling a bunch of them out. Making decisions on amendments we haven't even read yet doesn't actually seem consistent with the Local Government Act to me. Whether they're cost savings or whether they're or their cost, council's got every right to vote for or against something, but we've got the responsibility to read, debate, and at least consider them. That's our responsibility. So I hope the process is different in any future years. I thought the last year's was much better in doing things a bit in advance. But it would also mean that some of the amendments couldn't have then been massaged out like some have been, so there's no longer a rating impact. So not putting on the table means you couldn't have even massaged them out to get some really good outcomes. And I think there are some really good outcomes coming from some of these amendments. And I think all 59 of them were more worthwhile than the work being done looking into abandoned trolleys, which has a report coming back to us in the coming months. All 59 of them, for the record, I think are much more worthwhile. I will just speak to Lincoln Road. This is something in my view that has to be actioned. I thought it was very sensible just to proceed with the Curlitz to Wrights part, which is currently one lane. That's the part where it does bottleneck. Congestion is getting really bad. There is thousands moving into not just Halswell, but thousands more moving into Selwyn, and Selwyn's going to start directing more traffic down Halswell Road onto Lincoln Road via Ellesmere Road. It's going to get really bad, simply put. Building another lane is critical, and if in future it could even be used for other things, whether it's for Ubers or taxis or vehicles with 2 or 3 occupants in it. But nothing can ever happen until a lane's built. Nothing can go through there until that's done. I don't believe we'll save money by waiting. I think cost escalations over a few years will far outweigh any NZTA subsidy. And we know that 3 years will, that then becomes 5 or 6. Like things happen to us here every year. Goodness knows what the next couple of years look like. And government have actually already funded the $60 million part on Halswell Road. So I'm not sure they're even going to want to fund our part, given they've kind of already come to the party on this issue. But there's actually tens of millions of dollars in projects in this annual plan with no NZTA subsidies whatsoever. And we are pushing ahead because you do have to with some. There's a $3.5 million towards a cycleway in this budget with no NZTA funding. So what I would say is if you're willing to support a budget with cycleway but not construction of another lane on a key arterial route, I'll have suspicions that you're anti-car. We wouldn't want to have that now, would we?
Thank you. Right, anyone else? Marcus?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to commend staff for your patience. Let's try you on regular occasion. So see us work through today, I think, to a point where I think we've worked pretty darn well, to be honest. And to hear that news earlier today, where further growth in the city has lowered the figure even further, is phenomenal. It kind of highlights we need to crack on and do a lot of stuff in the city. We can't afford to wait for a lot of it. I've sort of been floating around the fence on a few of these amendments. I think through this debate, I'll come to the point where I'll probably support a few of them because of pragmatism for the future of our city. Because that's the thing, we've got to think about the future of our city, not just the now. The expediency of voting down a few amendments to save a couple of pennies may not be the wisest thing for us, because we've got to think about the future and make sure that our city grows to everything it can be. Put the city in a great place. It's going to get even better over the coming 6 to 12 months. So let's give our city the best opportunity to be all the best that it can be. And I think we've worked pretty well together as a team. We've had our moments. It's been testy at times. I don't think the amendment process has been as smooth as it could have been. So hopefully in future years we can learn from that and perhaps give ourselves a little more time to get them in a little bit ahead of the week that we're actually deciding, so that we can really do the homework on them and get some really sound, solid advice. Because we are the governors of the city and we need to make sure that we govern well and with great wisdom. Working together as a team has been, it's testy, but I think we do it well. We do have our moments. And the fact of the quantum of our rates increase, yes, it's a bit higher than the general public would like. Saying that, we've got, I think, one of the best figures that I've seen in this area. Neighbours, where they're up in the double digits. We're getting down into the lower single digits. Take out Takaha and hey, under 5%, 4.85 is pretty damn good. So I think much staff and amongst ourselves, we've done a good job. And I do understand the reason for bringing a lot of amendments like we have. This is the process where we listen to the people, bring to the table what people need and want, and we can make the wise decisions to move our city forward. So looking forward to voting on this and getting this annual plan across the line. Future years and make even more decisions.
Aaron, thanks.
Yeah, I'll touch on a couple of points. I think most things have been covered off. I'll start on the process first, because I've been here a couple of these now. Nothing like Yanni, chiseled in stone back then. The first one on the processes, I've actually thought the process is pretty good, so I'll take my hat off to you, Mary. A number of workshops we had, the dozens and dozens of workshops and all of those hours, where there was many occasions where we had opportunities to go up and talk to staff just directly and bounce your ideas off them. So why you wouldn't share your amendment ideas with them then, and so they can go, oh yeah, good idea, well why don't we do this, this or this. That's called collaborative working. I did it on a number that I didn't put because they would be adding to the rates. So I did not put, Sam's face when I suggested one of them to him, and it was like a cartoon just caving in.
That's as usual.
The cut-off point, I didn't even finish the sentence, to be honest. There's a cost of living crisis, so for me to put up rates any more than I needed to, I just wasn't going to do this year. And I've got grand ideas and schemes for the city that I'd love to see progress. It's the greatest little city in the world, and we can make it even better, and I will intend to do that. The water metering one, I do like that has come up, even though it has come up late. I'm happy that it's there because I've been a proponent of us having volumetric charging, and I think that's a conversation for another year for us to have maturely with the city on volumetric, because if we want to really conserve water, volumetric is by far the best way to go, and in that way everyone also would be paying the same per litre of water like you do for gigawatts of electricity or litres of petrol. It just becomes another commodity that you pay the same for. So I look forward to that conversation with the city. And then finally, Herwood Road, the people of Herwood don't want a speed hump on that road. That's really, really clear. It's in a school zone where you need to be doing 30k an hour at the time kids are going in and out of the school anyway. If we have a problem, Phil and I were more than happy when we had done the at this annual plan that we would add the speed hump later if it was required, but we're putting in a set of traffic lights there for the children to cross the road. So we were happy to do it that way around. So I asked people to not put it at this point. The emergency services, and this is a key emergency services route, it's next to an airport. Do the math on that one. That you don't put it in now, we add it later if we need it. And the real danger is around the corner on Johns Road, where you'll see tourists, and it will be fatal at some point, tourists crossing the road, they don't know about or can find the tunnel, and they literally walk across the motorway with multiple bags, and they do it during the middle of the day and the middle of the night. So I'll highlight it here. There's other ways and other things in that area that need it, but I'll leave it there. But I just asked that we're more than happy to do the speed hump later. Let's leave it for now and wait and see.
Okay, Yanni, please.
Thank you. Yeah, I want to acknowledge the work that staff have done, and in particular, as well, a number of my elected members. This hasn't been an easy budget, and I think the change in central government with a whole bunch of implications in regards to funding has made things incredibly challenging. I am concerned that I don't support declaring a number of our properties surplus, especially places that are suitable for residential development. We've seen positive housing partnerships in places like New Brighton and Spraydon that gets affordable housing ownership and rentals by working with community housing providers to come up with creative and innovative housing solutions. Yet amendments supported by submissions to consult on putting budget on and retain properties to address homelessness and emergency housing have not been supported. Yet last week, without any submissions, we agreed to consult on giving developers an extra $7 million of development credits funded through rates without any public submissions. So I'm really struggling with this budget to address some of the things that are important. I also think that while we spent time on some small tweaks, there hasn't been enough work done on the single biggest cost driver today, the new stadium. How ironic that the headline in the paper today is the first seat of 25,000 being installed. Yet we could have had a fundraiser like the Court Theatre and sold names on those seats, raising tens of millions of dollars to help offset the cost. On top of this, despite setting up a working party to look at the cost of how things are done, we've yet to have a report back. And here we are again signing off on another year of spending. I'm of the view that there's better ways to spend money on doing things that are more cost effective than current practices. For example, the Morehouse Stewart Ave traffic light investigation is costing $300,000 for a business case. In my estimation, this equates to 2 traffic engineers working full-time for a year just to get a business case for 1 set of traffic lights. Completely inefficient. Not to mention the significant issues and increases in budgets to cater for the whims and desires of Kiwi Rail, or completely unrealistic things such as the $7 million going towards the Scrutton Roads crossing. So in conclusion, I stood on the basketball courts and sat in skate parks and walked local streets to try and get submissions. My takeaway from the consultation is that the documents are too wordy, the programs lack visibility, and it is very difficult for people to make submissions in support of things that they want, things that they don't, and what they want improved. The reality is that many communities do not have equitable access to technology to engage in the way that some do. And so the simpler we make the consultation document and the submission form, the better. So I'm struggling to support this budget. There's some very good things in it, but there's some things that I don't agree with. But ultimately, I don't think we've done enough to keep the rates affordable for people that are struggling, particularly with the single biggest item that is generating the single biggest cost.
Thanks. Look, we're looking at an average residential rates rise of now around 6.6%, which that includes 1.75% for the One New Zealand Stadium at Te Kaha for the financial year. And that's certainly better than the 8.9% in the draft and the 11.5% average commercial rates rises in the draft. I do want to acknowledge the savings that have been made throughout this process. And we were looking at a capital program of around 600 million. Well, some of this has been scaled back in parts. We need to acknowledge the council, it does have a long history of under delivery in the space. We continually borrow and charge rates for work we won't realistically complete. On the operational side, the budget included around 11 million in additional costs for staffing and service increases. You know, the truth is that's not the kind of overhead growth we should be committing to when we're asking ratepayers to absorb rates increases that are more than double that of inflation. I don't want to take anything away from the positive steps that we've taken to scale expenditure back and the enormous work that's been undertaken by staff. However, the fundamental problem lies in the long-term plan, which effectively locks us into a spending and borrowing trajectory. There's too much pressure on ratepayers. An annual plan, which you're well aware of, is essentially the council's amendments to the long-term plan. And you can tinker around the edges, but anything more substantial is going to be out of scope of an annual plan process and initiate a special consultative procedure. So I fundamentally disagree that the long-term plan is fit for purpose, particularly as we come out of record high inflation, high interest rates, and a cost of living crisis. Our rates are simply unaffordable, and increasing them at more than double the rate of inflation I just don't think is sustainable. I think this plan that we've got in front of us now is a vast improvement on the draft. Mary and her staff have undertaken a mountain of work, and I greatly appreciate that. I think the process has been incredibly well led by Mayor Phil, but fundamentally I think the budget still spends too much and borrows too much and follows an LTP that I disagree with.
Yeah, thank you, Phil. And obviously just start by acknowledging both you and Mary for your leadership in this. There's a heap of people in the background that do an inordinate amount of work. But really, I see both of your roles as trying to collaborate around a table with a group of what I would call difficult people, myself included, in terms of getting something through. I take seriously your points about the process, but actually real leadership is not being negative. It's about getting on and working with people to do something for the city. And I think as we go into this next election, there could not be a clearer choice around positivity or sniping and petty politics that don't lead to anything. I find that incredibly frustrating. I think, if you look at the process, we're governed by the Local Government Act, and actually working through that is the way to do it. Every other council adopts amendments the way we did. Simply what we did on Tuesday was have a debate and a vote on whether we want to consider the amendments that increase rates. That was voted down. We've moved on from it today. We're going to vote through them all now. But the reality is there was a choice for the people of Christchurch in that respect. Look, I agree, and I will support the water meters that go through today, and I will support the $15,000 that goes on operating costs for the chlorine-free stations. $15,000 in our budget is not a lot of money if it leads to a point where people can get more chlorine-free water. I note that there's no capital expenditure in the next year to do that, and like the advice says, there'll be the regulatory functions, which might mean it becomes even cheaper. So I'm pleased that that's moved from where it initially was. Look, I think the other point to note, and I get that the cathedral does become a bit of a whipping boy, so to speak. And I can't go into the detail here because it's obviously without prejudice in terms of our legal advice. But the advice is very clear. The advice is very, very clear, and it is disingenuous to say otherwise in this public domain. And I can't go into other reasons for that, but the advice is very, very clear. So look, I think we've actually got to a point now. This is a compromise. This is the whole way the council has to operate. We have to figure out how to work together to get something around the table that works. We won't like everything. I don't like the speed bump on Harewood Road. Sounds like it's going to go through. That's just the reality of democracy. The people in October will decide who they want around this table. But until then, they're stuck with all of us. We need to figure out how to work with each other and do it in a way that isn't negative, that isn't petty politics, and that helps grow the city.
Okay, 'tis I. Right.
You're not being negative, are you? Or petty?
I can talk that.
I was just backing up Victoria's point.
Not just today, sir.
I've got it written here, and I'd actually changed it and then changed it back. I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge and commend, but I changed it to my council colleagues for working together to achieve a positive outcome for our city. It has been a collaborative effect, and the constructive approach reflects our shared commitment to Christchurch and its communities. Since August 2024, Council has had multiple opportunities to discuss and debate the annual plan, starting with our agreement to do a light touch. Heaven help us, it was a heavy touch. And the approach following the LTP. In February, we adopted the draft plan, and after considerable debate and launched a robust consultation process, which drew hundreds of submissions and was praised by the Audit and Risk Chair as the best he's seen. Throughout May, we held workshops to deliberate on community feedback. Councillors debated key changes, including $71.5 million rephasing of the capital program and a range of cost-saving measures. We also gave clear direction on major proposals such as cathedral targeted rate, city shuttle, rating for renewals, and climate change fund. Just this week, we considered over 60 further amendments, reflecting the breadth of councillors' priorities and your strong engagement in shaping this plan. Through our community consultation on this plan, and more broadly, we have seen that what one person considers nice to have, another sees it as must have. Around this table, we reflect the same diversity. What some councillors consider essentials, others may consider extravagances, but that is the nature of democracy. Our community expects us to debate, to listen, and ultimately to make decisions in the collective interest, even if we don't always agree. It is our duty to navigate our diverse views and find the best balance we can, not just for today, but for Christchurch's future. A couple of the amendments that I'm looking at, Harewood Road School, I'm totally with Aaron. I think we should put it in. Because why would we have speed bumps there when we need them 2 hours in the morning, 3 hours in the morning, 3 hours in the afternoon? Don't need them at 2 o'clock in the morning. So, and I don't actually believe that any signalised crossing should have a raised speed hump. Lincoln Road, there is actually work starting on this in the next few months, tidying up all the messy boundaries, the old fences, and getting it ready. I'm told that it's already designed. Now, it's up to me to go and see if I can work some magic in Wellington. I know we've got to do a business case. We go out there and say, like we did with Brown Street, and see if I can prize some money out of that government department once we know. I can do that. Stewart Street, an absolute waste of space. We shouldn't be spending any money on it. God knows how it's actually got to this point. So if we can defer it, you look at it. So other than that, two other things that I'm more than happy with the water stations, as Sam said, 15 grand for scoping, that's good. And I am convinced that we'll be able to get cheaper ones in next year, which means we'll be able to put more around the city. And it's the stations and water meters. If we get them in everywhere, it will take a bone of contention away from some people who feel that they're being hard done by. So then everyone is on the same playing field. So thank you very much. So which one do I do first? Yep. So we're up to the amendment. Yeah. We have split the amendments into the following categories, and which we will vote on as follows. Noting and report requests. We'll put these as a block in one vote. Pauline's, I moved it, Pauline seconded it, just as the stuff all up to page 14. Okay, that we talked about earlier on. Everyone, we'll get those all out of the way, and then we'll go down the other ones one by one. Right. So everything up to page 14. I'll put that. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Brilliant. Thank you. That's carried. Okay, so now we start with yes. Yes. Oh, yeah. Here we are.
Is Division A would be called if it's clearly a.
But for votes, I'll be asking councillors to raise their hands for and against and abstentions. Please keep your hands up so Sam can count the numbers, but we can take divisions if everyone's right. Yeah.
They'll be on the screen.
Yeah, behind us.
Is there a 3B? Just double checking before. Yeah, cool. Yeah.
Okay, so the first one.
Oh no, just looking out the data one on the TV. Yeah,
okay.
It's any smaller, the old ones can't read it.
So the so we've got a mover and seconder. I'll put this motion. Everyone that's in favour of A23, which is written on the board behind us, please raise a hand.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
No way.
10, 11, 12, 13, 14.
You should have gone for Milton.
Just the real bridges.
That's your name. Against?
1, 2.
Okay, so those are carried. Thank you very much.
Well done.
Okay.
Thanks, guys.
Cannon Hill Crescent, it's A46. Got that? It's moved and seconded. Everyone who's in favour of that, please raise their hand.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 4. So that
Yes, I say thank you. That's passed. Yeah. Oh, we're over the page. West Oaks Hall, A56, investigate, it's just a request staff to investigate the acquisition. So it's been moved and seconded. So all those in favour of investigating that? Hang on.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 15.
Okay, so that's well carried. Thank you very much. A21, Bangor Peak Bangor Station, which I must go and have a look at one day. I'm hearing a lot about it. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favour with that, please put their hand up.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 4.
Great, that's carried. Okay, A15, Grants and Funding Accessibility Fund. Agrees to increase the accessibility fund by it's all written there behind me. All those in favour, please hand up.
2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 4.
So that's carried. Thank you. A24, Culture Galore. Everyone that's happy with that, please put their hand up. Yeah, that's easy. Easy.
I love you guys.
That's passed. Thank you. Akaroa Bay's emergency response, a utilised contested fund.
Yeah, no.
Everyone that's keen on that, please put your hand up. Yep, that's passed. No sweat. Thank you. Right.
Yeah.
Glad we got mine out of the way.
Transport's always going to be last.
Just those that listen to kids and those.
It's called payback time. Okay, so it's a Harewood Road Crossing raised platform. So all of those in favour of installing a raised,
We've got a division called for division.
oh, you're right,
so
we'll do
we'll-
division for this increase, right.
So for A1, the Harewood Road platform, councillor Peters.
No.
Councillor Fields.
Yes.
Councillor Harrison Hunt.
Yes.
Councillor Coker.
Yes.
School kids.
Councillor Donovan. Yes. Deputy Mayor Cotter. Yes. Councillor Henstock.
No.
Councillor Moore.
No.
Councillor Goff.
No.
Councillor Johansson.
Yes.
Councillor Kewen.
No.
Councillor McDonald.
No.
Councillor Barber.
No.
Councillor McClellan.
Yes, to keeping the kids safe.
With the traffic light, it's a first for everything.
Yeah.
Councillor Scandrett.
Yes.
The Mayor. And Councillor Templeton. One, two, three, four, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Carried. Is that right? Okay. There goes 35 grand. Okay,
It never got
Oh,
taken
so
off
we're
the
not doing the
budget.
signals now.
35
Never
grand,
got taken
say
off.
pushing somewhere else.
guys, can we just? So A5, Lincoln Road PT corridor.
Division on
Same
that.
as
Yeah, division on this one as well, please, yeah. This agrees to bring forward funding and removes any other.
Principal always gets us.
Yeah. There's got to be something.
So for amendment A5, Lincoln Road PT
We get on
corridor,
remarkably well.
Councillor Kewen.
I'll wait.
You can't do
You
that.
can't wait.
You'll wait for the funding, is that what you?
Well, given the mayor said he
not
will
debate.
ask quickly, oh, well, Jake did on the last one. So
Oh, we're just going for 5 minutes.
I
yes or
will,
no?
I
Put the
will
clock
actually
on.
support it.
Councillor McClellan.
That was too much time taunting Aaron.
You're thinking about me.
Yeah. Yes.
Councillor McDonald.
No.
Councillor Henstock. Councillor Moore.
Yes.
Councillor Scandrett.
Yes.
Councillor Harrison Hunt.
Yes.
Councillor Coker.
Yes.
Councillor Peters.
Yes.
Mayor.
No.
Councillor Templeton.
Aye.
Councillor Barber.
No.
Deputy Mayor Cotter. Yes. Councillor Fields.
Yep.
Councillor Johansson.
Yes.
Councillor Donovan.
Just wait for the end.
Yep. Councillor Goff. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Narrowly carried.
Narrow.
Okay, thank you. Next one, footpaths, number A30. Oh, sorry, yes, just put it back. All those in favour of that, please put their hand. Yeah, that's right. No sweat. No, that's good. Thanks. Okay, Bromley Roads agrees to adding some funding, 1 million this year and 4 million over the next couple. All of those in favour of that one, please raise your hands.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Celeste, did you? Sorry, yep. 10, 4.
Okay, that's good. Thank you. Woodhouse Street. That's yeah, Jake and Yanni. So all those in favour of that, please raise their hand.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
That's carried. Okay, so now we get into water. chlorine-free water stations. All those in favour of that one, which is from Sarah and Pauline, please raise your hands. If that's all right, no worries.
Not Aaron.
Sorry, yeah, no, that's passed. Yeah, okay. A16, 3 waters for water meters. All those in favour of that, hand up. Yep, that's over the line. It's done our toilet. All those in favour of that, please hand up.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
So that's passed, thank you. The next one, Akaroa visitor economy. Everyone in favour of that, please put their hand up.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 4.
Excellent, that's passed. Right.
You know, I've got councillor Henstock and McLennan sitting back for that.
So this one is Stewart Street intersection. It's for the business case. Defers line item, section written differently. Yeah, for consideration in the next long-term plan. So everyone that's in favour of that. Yeah, well over, no problem. So go to the next pages. Rates up there.
Everything was passed, wasn't it, that you predicted earlier? Yeah. It is. So do you want to give them?
So it's within nothing of what you listed, so we don't really need to take a break.
Do you need to just update the decimal figures?
Oh, the decimal figures?
Yeah.
Okay, righto.
So
By 10 minutes?
About 10, Steve?
15.
15.